Presented by Honda. We've been there from the start. Honda, official vehicle of the Toronto Blue Jays. Proud fan since 1977.
Welcome to Baltimore, Maryland. This will be the final game between these two ball clubs this season here in Baltimore at Oriole Park at Camden Yards. The Blue Jays have an 8-7 advantage in the season series, and a lot of Blue Jay fans are here willing to throw hats, our hats, JD, in reference to his 3-homer game on Sunday when the fans rained down the hats from the stands at Rogers Center. Let's take a look at the lineup for John Gibbons' Blue Jays. They won 5-1 in the opener, lost 5-3 last night. Top of the order, Jose Bautista, Josh Donaldson. Down in the 6th spot, Troy Tulowitzki against Giovanni Gallardo. A .351 career average with 5 extra base hits and 4 RBIs. Those two played a lot of games against each other in the National League, and Kevin Pillar's got a 5-game hit streak. Coming back from the DL, he's done all right. .444 average with 8 hits in 18 at-bats. Kevin Pillar batting 8th tonight.
They will face their old nemesis, Giovanni Gallardo. He's put up some great numbers in his career versus the Blue Jays. Still, he's just 30 years old. This is his 9th big league season. He missed nearly 2 months of this season with right shoulder biceps tendonitis, so he's only going to be making his 19th start of the season. Still, he's 4-6 with a .569 earned run average. Last time out, he had the shortest start of his career in terms of innings pitched, so he is well rested. He only worked an inning and a third in that loss to the Yankees. They bombed him for 7 earned runs in that inning and a third, so he gets the Blue Jays tonight. He's 4-1 with an ERA of 3 in his career against the Blue Jays.
1-1 in his 2 previous starts against the Jays this season. Jose Bautista is in the box. Gallardo is set. Here's the first pitch of the ball game. Bautista hits it high and deep to left. Get up, ball. Rimo at the wall, at the track, jumps, gone! A first pitch home run for Jose Bautista. Just his 2nd hit against Giovanni Gallardo in 15 at-bats.
That's how you take care of your old nemesis, and the fans are loving that. That was a fastball right down the middle of the plate. It looked like Weeder set up on the outside part of the plate. He missed his spot terribly, and Jose Bautista was waiting for that one. Look at the smiles on everybody's faces in that dugout.
That's the 8th home run hit in this 3-game series, and Bautista going after the first pitch. I mean, that is center cut, and Wieters knew it immediately.
See how he had to reach back, and that one right down the middle of the plate. Jose didn't miss it.
Bautista's 17th of the season, and here's Josh Donaldson. Well, what a way to start the game for the Blue Jays. First pitch of the ball game, and they've got a lead.
That's a shell shocker right there. I think if you're Giovanni Gallardo, there are the numbers in his career versus Gallardo. Why wait around? Look for that first one down the middle and do this. 1-0 Blue Jays.
Mark Teixeira hit a 2-run home run in the first inning of Gallardo's last start. And then he really ran into trouble in the 2nd inning against the Yankees.
That is Jose's 13th home run in this ballpark in his career.
Josh Donaldson. Josh had a single in his last at-bat in last night's game to extend his hit streak to 9 straight. He was 1 for 4 in that game. Donaldson with a 3-1 count. Make it rain, Josh. Blue Jay fans in the house.
Just stay right where you're at. He is in a nice little groove. We were talking about him earlier today. He's got 9 home runs in the month of August. That leads the Blue Jays.
Good breaking ball from Gallardo. Now it's a full count. Gallardo taking a long time to come up with the right pitch in this full count situation.
He shook fastball away, shook fastball in. They went back fastball away, and he said, okay. I don't think Josh was real happy with the timing of that, so he stepped out.
Ground ball. Big hop for J.J. Hardy. They were playing Donaldson to pull. 1 away. The Orioles committed an error last night, throwing here by the catcher, and let's take a look at the outfield. Kim is in left field, Rimo's in center. Adam Jones continues to be out of the lineup. Trumbo's in right. Machado, Hardy, Scope, and Davis around the infield. Matt Wieters hit the decisive home run in last night's game. He's doing the catching for Giovanni Gallardo.
Well, you just saw him at work. That's J.J. Hardy, the shortstop, Gold Glove winner. Buck Showalter was raving about him today around the batting cage, talking about he's one of the best players in the American League when it comes to fundamentals at shortstop. He's always in the right place at the right time. The ball always seems to find him. He makes plays. And they have charts that they use, and Buck goes back and looks at those charts and then tries to get the videotape of that and send it down to the minor leagues to show the minor leaguers how a big league shortstop looks. And it's a great advantage of using the video when you've got plays that you can talk about it all you want in spring training, but then to have the video to show that, that's how you learn. That's how a lot of minor leaguers are learning it in the Orioles system.
Curveball downstairs. Gallardo has given up now 15 earned runs in the first inning. It's been a challenge for him. Of course, the Blue Jays have been one of the best teams scoring in the first inning. They just don't give a starter a chance to get settled into the game. Here's the 2-1 pitch. The ground ball to third. Machado makes an easy play. 2 away.
Well, let's take a look at the 9-year veteran of the major leagues, Giovanni Gallardo. They signed him to a free agent contract for 2 years with an option for 2018. He's going to come after you with a fastball. He's got a slider. It's like a little cutter that he'll use. And he's got great command and great control with it. Curveball, he used 11% of the time, so he'll mix in a changeup. He's been tough against the Blue Jays in the past with all these right-handed hitters, a lot like Ubaldo Jimenez last night, where he cuts that ball away from righties, keeps it on the outside part of the plate.
Michael Saunders hit a 2-run home run in the 7th inning in last night's game. That tied it at 3-3. Get that home run off of Ubaldo Jimenez to start it.
I had to ask him today. I said, Michael, what is it with you and Ubaldo Jimenez? He says there's just certain pitchers that I feel comfortable with. He says it always seems like he gets me in fastball counts too, that his command isn't that good and control, and he's always sitting on fastballs. And he got one last night and tattooed it. Said, do you think he knows about your numbers? He goes, I know about my numbers. I'm sure he knows about it too.
Absolutely. When you look at the probable pitching list for upcoming series, you always notice that guy that you hit well. Ball on his strike, 2 outs. Upstairs, he lays off. Who was the guy that you hit? The guy that you always looked ahead to say, okay, is he going to pitch in our series?
Now, this is no secret because I told him to his face too. It's the next teammate, Jimmy King. I said, Jimmy, I love facing you. I can see the ball. You'd throw that little looping curveball. I saw it out of your hand, and that little change up down and away. You're right. There's always somebody, isn't it?
Yeah, somebody you look ahead and say, okay, we're playing the Blue Jays next week. Key's going to pitch game 2. Okay, that's a couple of knocks at least, maybe a homer.
Yeah. I'm going to play, number one. I got a chance to play, and I got a chance to get a couple of base hits.
3 balls and a strike to Michael Saunders, batting with 2 outs. He takes ball 4 up and away. So Saunders is aboard. And Sanchez anxious to throw the rubber here, but he'll let his offense give him another couple of opportunities to score.
Yeah, score as many as you can right here. Give me a break.
Russell Martin. Blue Jays have both of their catchers in the lineup tonight. Navarro is DHing his first appearance since coming back to the Blue Jays. Martin was 1 for 4 last night. He goes after the first pitch and fouls it over the screen.
That's that little cutter that I was telling you about with Giovanni Gallardo. Just a little get me over pitch. It's got a little late movement to it. It takes it right off the barrel of the bat. Right-handers are going to have to recognize that, and if they see it on the outside part of the plate, they're going to have to take that ball the other way.
Inside off the plate. The Orioles have won both series here prior to this one. They will were 2-1 victories in those series for the Orioles, and this is the rubber match of this 3-game series. Blue Jays trying to win this series and win the first series of the season here in Baltimore.
Try and gather some momentum too. Beat good teams. You know what that can do for the confidence of the ball club when you go on the road and you play good teams and you end up winning those series. It just seems to have a snowball type of effect, and you start gathering momentum and everybody seems to be positive.
1-2 to Martin. In the dirt, blocked by Wieters. The Blue Jays lost last night, snapped their 4-game win streak, and the longest win streak they've had this season is 7 games. Last year in their division championship season, they had 2 11-game win streaks. They haven't been able to string wins together at that pace so far this season.
It doesn't happen very often, does it, where you have double-digit winning streaks like that? Blue Jays did it twice last year. I mean, they got on a roll and caught every break and made every break possible.
Saunders dives back in safely over at first. Michael's been dealing with a hamstring injury. I don't think he's going to be running in this situation. He has just 1 stolen base, been plucked 3 times. Two and 2 to Russell Martin. A run in here. Jose Bautista with a leadoff home run on the first pitch of the ball game. That's way up into the upper deck.
Another extended inning here, the first inning by the Blue Jays offense against the opposition.
21 pitches. The Blue Jays top of the order. They'll work over a starter, not giving him a chance to have a clean first inning. Good take just off the plate inside. Full count to Martin. Saunders will be running on the pitch. There are 2 outs. Blue Jays lead it 1-0. Troy Tulowitzki is on deck behind Martin. Fly ball deep to right. Trumbull back at the track, at the wall, reaches up, and it's gone. Russell Martin, an opposite field home run, the second home run of the inning. For Martin, his 16th, and that'll give him 61 RBIs.
And he is locked in as well as anybody right now. You know, I told you that Josh Donaldson leads the team in home runs for the month of August. Well, he was just tied right there by that home run by Russell Martin. That's Russell's 9th this month. And he is racking up the RBIs. It looked like that little cutter down and away that I told you about, like the first pitch that he saw in that at-bat. Stayed right with that one, didn't try and pull it, hit it where it was pitched. Drove it right out of here.
More home runs in this series. That's the 9th home run these 2 clubs have hit in this 3-game series.
One more time. There it is. A little cutter, a little slider down and away. And watch how Russell stays behind that one. Doesn't go out there to get it. Lets it break and then crushes it to right field.
Tulowitzki goes around. It's 0-2. Tulowitzki, a .351 hitter against Gallardo. 5 extra base hits, 4 RBIs, but he's behind 0-2 now.
That goes back to the National League days, doesn't it? When Tulo was in Colorado and Gallardo was in Milwaukee.
0-2. Line drive to Chris Davis. That ends the inning, but the Blue Jays got off to a fast start. Can't do it any faster than Jose Bautista. He jumps on the first pitch of the game. Hits his 8th career leadoff home run. Russell Martin with a 2-run shot. Out of the first, 72 and 60 for the season. In the third spot, Manny Machado over his last 25 games. 10 home runs and 25 ribbies, and a perfect OPS at 1.000. And then right behind Machado is Chris Davis. He's got good numbers against Sanchez, including 3 home runs and 4 RBIs.
First time in 11 days that we see Aaron Sanchez starting ball game for the Blue Jays. 12-2. That's a .857 winning percentage through 24 starts. Only Roy Halladay in 2003 had a better win percentage after that many starts in Blue Jays history. And of course, he went on to win the Cy Young Award that year. Outstanding earned run average of .299. Aaron gets the Baltimore Orioles once again.
This is Hyun-Soo Kim leading off for the first time in his big league career. The Orioles don't have their regular leadoff man available. Adam Jones, the center fielder, has done the majority of hitting out the leadoff spot this season. Inside, a ball on the strike. What are the keys you're looking for from Sanchez tonight early in this game?
Well, we've talked about him being off for 11 days. So is there rust in his delivery? Does he try to rush it? He's a little bit stronger now because of the workload that has been taken off of him. Does he stay within his delivery? Is it sound? Can he control the fastball? When does he move that changeup into the game? How does he use that curveball? Does he get it into the game? Does he rush it? Does he get a little bit too anxious? Just dial it back just a little bit.
Curveball, grounder hit to second base. Travis throws out Kim, one away. Sanchez will get his fair share of ground balls. Let's take a look at the defensive alignment tonight. Michael Saunders is back in left field. His 91st started left. Pilar and Bautista center and right. Donaldson, Tulowitzki, Travis, and Encarnacion around the infield. The backstop is Russell Martin doing the catching for Aaron Sanchez, who is back.
And it's so good to see Kevin Pilar out in center field. He is third in the American League in defensive run saved with 17 behind Eaton and Betts. He's the #1 defensive WAR center fielder also in the American League. So it's good to see him when you're playing in this ballpark. It's .410 to center field.
Jonathan Scope, he was the leadoff hitter last night for the Orioles. Excuse me, he was the leadoff hitter in game 1 on Monday night. Last night it was Steve Pearce against JM. Scope batting .279, 33 doubles, 20 home runs. And he's hit well against Aaron Sanchez.
So did we cover everything with Aaron Sanchez? What to look for tonight? Can you think of anything else?
I'm looking for his effort level. I want to see that smooth, easy delivery, just like that last pitch. I think he's on a mission tonight to prove that he can pick it up right where he left off, but you have to fight the urge to do more. What he was doing before was working perfectly.
Was plenty. He's strong, obviously, as there's another ground ball. He's strong because of his time off, and if you're too strong, you start overthrowing, and if you overthrow, then your ball starts to flatten out. Just stay behind the ball and just do what you've done all season long, and you'll be fine.
Aaron came into this game having thrown 156 in the third innings, well over his career high. A couple of years ago, he threw 133 innings between the minor leagues and the major leagues. But he is in great shape. Great pitching matchup now. Sanchez against Manny Machado. We mentioned his last 25 games, including 10 home runs and 25 ribbies over that span. Curveball, he got around and threw it away. Now Gibbons is delivering a message to Stroman that made him laugh, so no telling what that's about. Manny Machado is hot. He jumps on that high fastball and rips it into center field. Comes on a 1-0 pitch.
I'll tell you, nobody on that Oriole team keeps that bat in the hitting zone as long as Manny Machado. Fastball that's up, and you can see how level that swing is. Watch that, right through the baseball. Young players tend to go into the strike zone and then out with their swing. He follows through and just finishes swing. It stays in that bat plane, that hitting plane for a long, long time.
We're going to talk about that over the course of the evening. We've got two of the best in doing that in Manny Machado and Josh Donaldson. This is Chris Davis. Mentioned his career numbers against Sanchez. 6 for 14 with 3 career home runs. Davis hit one of 2 home runs Sanchez allowed in his first big league start right here at Camden Yards a couple of years ago. Alejandro De Aza and Chris Davis both hit home runs in the first inning.
Boy, one bad breaking ball, and it comes right back with a good one.
That's on Russell Martin. Russell Martin called the first pitch curveball. It wasn't a good one, so it's fresh in the pitcher's mind. Come back and throw it again.
Might throw another one right here. That's what I like about Russell, is he forces those young pitchers to use all of their pitches. Use the changeup. Teach them that they have to use it to be successful in the big leagues.
Missed away. 3-1 now to Chris Davis. He walks. A 2-out single, now a 2-out walk, so 2 aboard with 2 outs for Mark Trumbo.
Yeah, look who's coming in to talk to him. This is what Troy Tulowitzki does so well, just to slow things down, a word of encouragement to his pitcher.
I think right now, Aaron's a little bit too deliberate. I think he needs to pick up the tempo a little bit. I think he's trying to be calm and collected. I think he just needs to pick up the tempo a bit. Home run leaders, of course, Mark Trumbo with 40. Edwin Encarnacion, Josh Donaldson on the list. 2 outs for Mark Trumbo. He's late on that first pitch fastball. Trumbo in last night's game 0 for 4. He went 0 for 3 against Jay Happ. He has never had a hit against Happ. He was 0 for 11 in his career.
That's a shocker, isn't it? Big power hitter from the right side versus a left-handed fastball type of pitcher.
Ground ball. Force at second. The inning is over. No harm, no foul. A 2-out single and a walk, but the Orioles leave a pair. The Blue Jays have a 3-0 lead after 1 in Baltimore.
Last night in Buffalo, Ryan Goins was in the game for the Bisons, and in the 6th inning, he was called off the field from his spot in shortstop. He had no idea what was going on. He thought maybe he had done something wrong. Then he thought maybe he had been traded. Well, as it turns out, he was told he's coming up to Toronto to be with the Blue Jays. He made some fun about it afterwards. He was telling his teammates he got traded for Yusel Puig. He saw the rumors about Joey Votto and told me, if the Blue Jays are trading me straight up for Joey Votto, someone is definitely getting fired. Guys, I know you've both played in the league. Have you ever had a situation where you've been called last second, having no idea why?
Absolutely, Barry. It's happened to us all. You get a mysterious removal from a game. I was hauled off an airplane at O'Hare when season, flying from Omaha to Indianapolis, and I was summoned to the ballpark for an afternoon game and caught that day because the catcher the night before broke his hand.
But it's all good news.
It's
right?
all good news.
It's all good news.
Most of the time it's good news.
And it's good news for Ryan. He's back in the big leagues where he belongs. Darwin Barney's going to miss a couple of days for some personal matters.
It says Deanna Navarro making his first appearance back with the Blue Jays. He's the DH tonight. This is only the second DH assignment this year for Navarro. But in his 2 seasons with the Blue Jays, he DH'd 32 times. And he had 297.
And you can see from those numbers right there, he was productive when he was with the Blue Jays. Coming up with some big hits. You know he wants to do something special here, coming back to this ball club, and trying to help them win a ball game and get back to the playoffs.
He looks at home in that Blue Jays uniform, that's for sure. He was a big part of the success the Blue Jays had in the last 2 seasons. In 2014, he was the everyday catcher for the Blue Jays, and the Blue Jays signed Russell Martin, and he became a backup to Martin. But he handled it very well. Both Yanni Navarro and Russell Martin were teammates with the Dodgers early in their careers. Navarro was the regular, and Martin came up and took his job.
They form a nice duo, don't they? Behind the plate. Deanna then last year caught Marco Estrada. He caught Mark Burley, so he got his chances behind the plate, and he delivered. Calls a beautiful ball game.
Two balls and 2 strikes to Navarro, leading off the second. Swings and drives it into right field. Welcome back, Deanna. A leadoff single in his first at bat. Back with the Jays.
Now that's saying something right there, because the Baltimore Orioles load up the right side of the infield against Navarro, a strict pull hitter, and they've got Jonathan Scope out in the outfield. Hanging cutter out over the plate, and he tomahawks that ball with some top spin on it. I thought it was going to go right to Scope in the outfield, but it's just out of his reach for a base hit.
I think that is the most overused pitch in baseball, the cutter. How many times do we see a hanging cutter ripped into the outfield for a base hit? Or worse than that, into the seats for a homer. Pitchers overuse the cutter.
It's almost like it has to be perfect to be effective, and it shouldn't be. It should be used in 3-1 counts, 2-0
It's a surprise pitch.
Surprise, where the hitter is looking for a fastball, and that looks like a fastball and then cuts right at the end.
Kevin Pillar's got a mini 5-game hit streak. Bends back from an inside pitch. It's 2-0. Last time out, Gallardo pitching against the Yankees allowed the first 6 Yankees batting in the second to reach base. He never got out of the second.
Finished up an inning and a third. 6 hits, 8 runs, 7 of them earned.
Right now he's having trouble finding the strike zone. 3-0 to Pillar. Devin Travis is on deck, and this lineup with Navarro batting 7th, Pillar batting 8th, and Devin Travis batting 9th is totally different.
Yeah, it's got some length to it, doesn't it? Some guys who can hit down at the bottom of that lineup.
Rio, there's a strike.
You also have a stronger bench now. You've got Melvin Upton on the bench tonight, and he can play anywhere in the outfield. You've got Justin Smoke, who's swinging a hot bat. He's on the bench tonight. Carrera, Goins.
Pillar breaks his bat. Soft grounder to Hardy. All they'll get is the force at second.
Make your renovation a cut above during the DIY Expert Sale. Only at Home Building Center and Home Hardware Building Center.
There's that barrel of that bat that exploded, and fortunately everybody is okay. And
Firewood.
Turn it back into the dugout. Not much you can do with that.
I think the fans who got hit with it, I think they want a real bat now. They want to make a trade. I'll give you the end of the bat that was seared off. You give me a full bat. But how about J.J. Hardy at shortstop? He knew who was running over at first base. He knew he wasn't going to turn 2 on that play. Just took his time, fielded the ball, made a good throw to second base, and got that lead runner. Knew he wasn't going to turn 2 with Pilar running.
Pilar back standing up.
You know, that's what I mean about a guy who just is into the game and understands it. Watch how he just takes his time. Right here, he doesn't have to charge, he just takes his time, straightens up, and makes a good throw. He knew who was running from first to second, and he knew who was running from home to first. And they could only get that lead running. So he didn't rush it.
Pilar faked to break, bouncing ball to Machado. He goes to second. Scope back to first. What a turn by Scope. Well, Machado had to wait for that ball. It was a high bouncing ball to third, but Machado threw a strike to Scope, who really unloaded a terrific pivot. Machado's throw is right in the chest of the second baseman, and look at Scope. He really turns a nice double play. Four earned runs in his last start against the Cleveland Indians. This is the American League earned run leaders as we speak. Jose Quintana with a 277. Cole Hamels 291. Then Aaron Sanchez just under 3 at 299. But we mentioned in 4 innings last time out, he gave up 5 runs, 4 earned runs, and that has moved his ERA just under 3.
It has moved up to 299. He's given up 12 earned runs over his last 4 starts. That's an average of 3 a game. I'll tell you what, I'll take that every single time. I'll take my chances with this offense and this team and winning.
For the Orioles, Pedro Alvarez will lead things out. Alvarez takes the first pitch strike. Let's keep an eye on Sanchez and see if he picks up the tempo a little bit here in the second inning. Alvarez hit second in the game last night, finished up with a 2-hit night. He was 2 for 3 with a walk. What's wrong with that pitch? Looks like a pretty good pitch. Jerry Lane, the crew chief, veteran umpire behind the plate tonight, calling balls and strikes.
Looks like he's working that curveball in early to put that in the mind of those Baltimore Oriole hitters. A lot like Marco Estrada. Marco did that on Monday, where he used his curveball early in the ball game, at least the first time through. Put that in the mind of those hitters, and then you can work off of that.
Weak ground ball to Tulowitzki from the second base position makes the play. Well, Matt Waiters last night, he broke the hearts of the Blue Jays as he hits that high fastball, the first pitch he saw from Jason Grilli, and gives the Orioles the lead in the 8th. For Wieters, his 12th home run of the season. That came with 2 outs after a 2-out walk to Jonathan Scope.
Broke the hearts of the Blue Jays, but not this guy right here. You see his quote after the ball game? Turn the page. I've given up home runs before. I know what it's like to give up home runs, but tomorrow's another day.
And it's such a good run, consecutive games without allowing a run, and that was snapped. But he said, "I'm ready to go again tonight." That's the nature of the beast, pitching late in the games.
That home run by Wieters has now given Baltimore a plus 25 run differential in innings 8 and 9. I mean, that's the type of team they have. They're never out of any ball games because of their home run ability. That's second in the American League. The Royals lead at a plus 44 in innings 8 and 9. So the back end of the bullpen's very important against teams like the Baltimore Orioles.
A ball and 2 strikes to the Orioles catcher. That ball runs back over the inside corner, but doesn't get the call from Jerry Lane. Lane is a 27-year veteran umpire. He's the crew chief of this umpiring crew.
Yeah, I'm sure Russell will remind him that that fastball's got a lot of movement to it.
There's a liner right to Bautista, almost in his tracks as he makes the catch. 2 outs. Bautista looking up at that bank of lights above the Blue Jays dugout on the third base foul line. Make sure he has a good angle on those low liners.
It's still twilight here just a little bit. So if it gets outside that bank of lights, you still have to deal with that. That background awfully tough to pick up the baseball. Jose handled that flawlessly.
This is J.J. Hardy. Hardy has a home run in this series. He had a home run in his first at bat back on Monday night against Marco Estrada. It was the first run of that ball game, and the Blue Jays would win that game 5-1. Hardy with the only RBI in that game. Home run was his 8th of the season.
He's in a nice little power stroke right now. Watching him take BP today. He was bombing him out of here.
This is down the right side. It's slicing, and it's going to be a foul ball down in that corner. J.J. Hardy in the opener went 2 for 3 and a single along with his home run. They took the collar last night. The Orioles had just 7 hits. He was 0 for 4 in the game last night. Blue Jays hit 2 home runs in the first inning. These 2 teams have now hit 51 home runs in 16 games against each other this season. Pitchers are called in sick.
You sure you want to be a pitcher?
I got a little Orioleitis right now. Thank you very much.
Blue Jay-itis.
Blue Jays flu. Call down the bullpen and nobody answers.
Or they answer and say wrong number. Right? Well, that's what you get when you face these 2 teams. You're number 1 and number 2 in home runs in the American League. There is power up and down the lineup. You've got catchers who've got power. Wieters hit his 12th home run last night. Russell hit his 16th here tonight.
Ground ball. Tulowitzki waits on it. Takes his time and throws out Hardy. 3 up, 3 down. The Orioles go quiet in their half of the second. We move to the third. Aaron Sanchez is back in the rotation.
to log on and earn some points. Tonight's code is MBJ9635. You can find that entry box on your My Blue Jays homepage. You have till 11:59 tonight to enter the code. We'll get you back now to Buck and Pat.
Thank you, Barry. And a fairly sizable contingent of Blue Jay fans here in Baltimore for this 3-game series, and they have been entertained to great baseball. Each team winning a game in the first 2 games of this series. Jose Bautista at the first pitch of the ball game out of the ballpark. It was his 8th career leadoff home run, the 4th time he's hit a leadoff home run this season. It's the 8th time a Blue Jay hit the first pitch of a game for a home run. The last to do that before the Bautista home run tonight, Jose Reyes, June 17, 2014, off Masahiro Tanaka in New York. A rare occurrence indeed.
Yeah, that's a shell shocker, isn't it? When you throw that first one up there, you flip it up there and it gets knocked out, then you got to battle.
You know, everybody is trying to handicap this AL East division race and determine who's going to win it. And the one thing I continually look at is the strength of the Blue Jays starting staff. I think they have a tremendous advantage over the rest of the teams in the AL East. Bautista rips this one to left. Kim over to cut it off. He'll play it back in, and Jose Bautista's 2 for 2.
Boy, that was a pretty swing right there. Gallardo tried to heat him up on the inside part of the plate, but Jose was waiting for it. Ripped it into left field. Gallardo, here comes that fastball. That time it didn't look like a cutter. It looked like a fastball. He wanted to go in there, and Jose gets the bat head through. But I'm with you about the starting pitching, and we've been saying that a lot this year, that over 162 games, great starting pitching is going to win out for you.
Josh Donaldson takes the first pitch downstairs for a ball. There's no question about it. You get down to this time of the year, the hitters are a little bit fatigued. The starters are tired as well. But if you have a good, strong starting staff, you can dominate games.
You know, the little bit of a surprise for me with that good starting pitching, it's #1 in the American League.
Donaldson gets a base hit to right. Bautista will stop at second. Back-to-back singles here in the 3rd.
The thing that has surprised me with that starting pitching is they haven't had more than a 7-game win streak, like we were talking about a couple of innings ago. Usually when you have that type of starting, you can rip off 10, 12 in a row. Quick swing that time by Donaldson as he rips that ball to right field. 10-game hit streak now for Josh.
Edwin Encarnacion batting with nobody out. He grounded to third his first time up. Blue Jays with 3 runs on 5 hits already off of Giovanni Gallardo. First pitch strike. Strike 2, got it to knees. Both of these teams will have tomorrow off. Blue Jays will fly down to St. Petersburg and pick up action on Friday against the Rays. The Orioles will stay home and take on the Yankees here beginning Friday night in a 3-game series. Then the Orioles go on the road. They go to Tampa Bay for 3 and then have an off day on the 8th of September before they go into Detroit and Boston. A long road trip, a 9-game road trip.
That's the American League East in September. Everybody starts beating up on each other. Ideally, you'd like to come into September on a nice little hot note where you got a little momentum. I think that's where the Blue Jays really stormed through to the pennant last year, the American League East pennant. They really caught fire in August and then just really steamrolled through the month of September.
Yeah, he's had a great run after the Tulowitzki and Price acquisitions. In the dirt, that gets away. The runners are going to move up. Wieters let that ball play him, and Bautista got a good read and broke immediately, and Donaldson followed him.
Gallardo's bounced how many of those curveballs now out in front of home plate, and Matt Wieters just couldn't block that one and keep it in front of him. If he keeps it in front of him, the runners don't advance, but when it bounces to his right, it looked like it went right off the heel of his glove and then his chest protector. The runners can move up, and now the infield comes halfway.
3-2 pitch. Encarnacion stays alive. Bautista with a good secondary lead at third, but both Machado and Hardy are halfway at best. They don't want to get too close to Encarnacion.
Yeah, you bring them in halfway. Just if there's a ground ball right at the infielders, you hold the runners. So there's got to be a sign between the third base coach and that runner at second base what that runner at third base is doing.
Strike 3 call, and Encarnacion caught looking at the fastball. It catches the outside corner. So with 1 out and 2 on, Michael Saunders will come to the plate.
And hopefully do something like this. Another pitch from Ubaldo Jimenez, and he crushes it to right field. That's his 4th home run against Jimenez and his 6th home run this year against the Orioles. He sees the ball well here. He gets himself into fastball counts, and he's got a chance to drive in a couple of runs now.
Well, Buck Showalter just took that chance away from him. He's going to put him on with the intentional walk. So Saunders will be walked. And that'll bring Russell Martin to the plate. So with the base open after the wild pitch, they struck out Encarnacion. Now they'll walk Saunders to put the double play in order.
That's the only reason why you do it. You got a right-handed batter up, and you take a chance to get out of the inning with 1 pitch. Michael Saunders swinging a hot bat against the Orioles. They take that bat right out of his hand. Now Russell, what he's got to do, and you talked about it before, about he's dangerous with that first pitch. Don't try and do too much on that first pitch. Take the type of swing you had your last at bat and drive the ball to right field. And here it is right here. 3-2 cutter away, stay with it. And he launches his 16th home run and 9th home run of the month. In right field, that made it 3-0. Same approach.
Same approach. Go the other way. Russell, batting with the bases loaded, has 4 career grand slams. His home run in the first was his 2nd against the Orioles this season. Takes that first pitch inside for ball 1.
It's just a show me pitch right there inside. He wants to get him out away.
1 out, bases loaded. Russell hit a 2-run home run in the first. Pulled off that pitch. It was right down the middle.
Yeah, he was thinking about trying to launch a home run. The swing got just a little bit long there. Pretty good numbers with the bases loaded.
Blue Jays trying to add to their 3-0 lead here in the third. Two and one just off the plate. Ground ball to third. Machado steps on the bag, fires across the diamond, double play. A perfectly hit double play ball for the Orioles. The ball took Machado right to the bag, and he threw to first to end the inning.
With Roam Like Home starting at $5 a day, you can roam in the U.S. on a share everything plan, and you can use your phone just like you do at home in over 100 destinations around the world. Go to Rogers.com/Roam Like Home for details. And those fans at home that are planning to roam like home in the St. Petersburg area this weekend, guys, you may want to check your flights because they are expecting some pretty severe storms over the next few days. We all hope we get in safely over the next 2 days, guys.
Oh, Barry, this time of the year, it's just a minor storm down there in Florida. We're all used to it as Florida natives, and there's a storm rumbling into the west coast of Florida. And we'll fly down there tonight, and we'll send word back that it's okay, Barry. Nolan Raimo, the number 9 hitter, leads things off, and Aaron Sanchez delivers the first pitch strike. Good curveball, nice tempo on that delivery.
Yeah, stay back on that one and finished it off. He's been incorporating that now as they work their way through this lineup for the first time. Overthrew that one. Orioles have been hurting in the outfield. They've got Adam Jones still out, nursing that hamstring injury. They picked up Drew Stubbs today. Now I'm reading that they are in the process of trading for Michael Bourne, which would bring some reinforcements to this team in the outfield. There's Jones. He is out. We haven't seen him yet this series.
He comes out, he runs, and today he hit a little bit, but he's still not ready to take over in center field. Raimo gets jammed.
Well, teams have till 11:59 tonight to finish off some trades if they could work them out. Get them on their roster so they're eligible for the postseason.
Raimo hits a high fly ball to center. That's going to be an easy play for Pilar. One away. Well, Boston played this afternoon and they beat Tampa Bay. So they are a game and a half behind the Blue Jays in second place. The Orioles 3 games back. The Yankees 5 games over 500 at 68-63, and they're 6.5 back. Tell you what, Tampa Bay's scoring a lot of runs right now.
They scored 6 today and lost. They gave up 8 to the Boston Red Sox and lost that ball game. You're right, they're scoring runs. They're hitting a lot of home runs, more than what we have seen in the past from that team.
Martin got rocked pretty good by that. Excuse me, Jerry Lane, the home plate umpire. He lost his mask and looks like he be dazed a little bit. Hunter Wendelstadt, the first base umpire. Remember in last night's game, Matt Wieters got hit in the mask and he was stunned for a moment.
Well, that fastball just took off on Russell Martin. He might have got a glove on it, or might have ticked just a little bit off of his glove. But watch this thing just explode. Yeah, just right off the end of the glove. And then ricochet off the mask. You see Jerry holding on to Russell so he doesn't lose his balance.
Yeah, that hit him very square right in the crown of his mask. You can see the tip goes right off the top of that mask. That caught him flush. Well, the umpires are in to check on the crew chief, Jerry Lane, and Richie Bancels, the Orioles trainer, checking him out. He took a shot, man. With the protocol now in place for all the concussion tests, everybody gets checked out anytime there's a blow to the head, whether it's a player or an umpire. This is another example of how the umpires are in harm's way every single pitch.
Look at him hold on to Russell, and Russell understands that. He's been hit plenty of time to understand what that feels like. So he helps out the umpire. You see the other umpires talking to him. That's
He's going to leave. Yeah, he's going to leave, and looks like Richie Bancels is going to walk him into the clubhouse. And Alan Porter appears to be headed to the umpires clubhouse to put his umpiring gear on. Porter umped the opening game of this series, and in my mind had a terrific game behind the plate. He's got a wide strike zone, but it was consistent, and now we're going to have a lengthy break as Alan Porter goes inside to put on his home plate gear. We'll take a break.
waiting for Alan Porter to get ready to get behind the plate as we are in a delay. And speaking of Sanchez, for those who are wondering what he's been doing in Dunedin over the last 10, 11 days, well, here's what's been happening. Pete Walker told me today that he was pretty much doing the exact same routine between starts that he would do if he was with the team. On the 5th day, which would have been his regular start day, he threw somewhat of a simulated game where he was facing batters, but they weren't swinging. He would throw maybe 40, 50, 60 pitches, not what he would throw in a full game, but they wanted to give him the feeling that he was pitching in a game. He comes back now feeling terrific, ready to go, and he's hopefully going to be staying in the rotation the rest of the year. And guys, John Gibbons told us today he will not be moving back to the bullpen at any point this year.
No, and that's the right move. He's a starter, and you don't want to mess with him now. I think everybody knows what a good starter he is and how he's going to be a starter from this day forward. Right now, he is out on the field. I'm a little surprised he hasn't gone in and sit on the bench.
Yeah, it's a hot night here in Baltimore. You can see he's sweating, a lot of perspiration. It looks like his uniform's already darkened, the top part of that uniform. Surprised that he's not sitting down. This has happened a few times against the Blue Jays this year, and it's taken about 15 minutes for the umpires to go in there and make all the changes that they have to do, put the gear on. So I'm a little surprised that he's not sitting down, resting a little bit, and then when he comes back out, he can get loose again.
Yeah, obviously he has that option, and while we wait for the umpire to come back out on the field, let's go back to the studio. Here's Hazel May. There is Alan Porter, who is umpiring at second base. It was a 12-minute delay. Jerry Lane was taken out of this game after he took a fastball to the mask off the glove of Russell Martin. He was dazed, you could tell, when he left the field. He left under the care of Orioles trainer Richie Vancell. So now Alan Porter will be back behind the plate for a second time in this series. He umped home plate on Monday night.
Had the big strike zone that night for the Blue Jays as they won that game.
Sanchez comes right back and evens the count at a ball and a strike. Young Soo Kim grounded out to second base. Tulowitzki to his right, couple of steps in time. 2 away. Well, the ground ball is always a key to success for Aaron Sanchez, and he has gotten his fair share of ground balls tonight.
Well, when he keeps the ball down with the great movement, it's tough to hit line drives on it. The base hit by Manny Machado in the first inning was a pitch that was up, and that kept him level to get through that ball when it's down like that. Like those last 2 pitches to Kim, he's going to get a share of ground ball outs.
6 of the 8 outs have come on the ground so far for Sanchez. This is Jonathan Scope. He grounded out to second his first time up. The delay, as the umpire, Alan Porter, put his home plate umpiring gear on, was 12 minutes. Sanchez chose to stay on the field. There's a little flare in the right. That's going to drop for Scope. A 2-out base hit.
Jonathan is a dead pull hitter. He'll get his share of hits to right field. He's got 1 home run to right field. That's just his 24th hit to right field, but he fought that one off. That was a fastball 2-seamer. Again, up. When it's down, he gets a share of ground ball outs. When it's up, good hitters like the Orioles can fight that ball off and pick up a base hit.
So Manny Machado, who has the only other Oriole hit, he singled to center with 2 outs in the first, will step in against Sanchez. Machado now with 6 hits against Aaron Sanchez in 19 at-bats.
There's a good pitch. You know, we were talking about the month of August and all the home runs that the Blue Jays have hit in the month of August. Manny Machado, he's had one heck of an August also. He's got 10 home runs this month.
It's a fly ball into center. Pilar over to his right, makes the catch. The inning is over. So Sanchez gives up a 2-out single and leaves a base runner on.
Baseball live on your phone and tablet with the MLB.com At Bat app. Customize At Bat to feature the Blue Jays and stay up to the moment at any moment with scores, news, live game video highlights, and much more. Download MLB.com At Bat. It is the #1 app for live baseball. Now let's get you back to live baseball with Buck and Pat.
Thank you, Barry. It'll be Troy Tulowitzki, Deanna Navarro, and Kevin Pillar. Blue Jays scored 3 runs in the first, and Jose Bautista had a leadoff home run, and then Russell Martin hit a 2-run home run with 2 outs in the first.
They threatened the next 2 innings, but they've hit into 2 inning-ending double plays to finish off the second and the third inning. Been knocking on the door against Gallardo.
Troy Tulowitzki lined out softly to the first baseman, Chris Davis. Popped up. Jonathan Scope, the second baseman, behind the bag, makes the catch.
A lot has changed in 40 years, but one thing hasn't. Honda, proud fan since 1977, official vehicle of the Toronto Blue Jays.
One of the great baseball stadiums in all of North America, Oriole Park at Camden Yards. John Navarro, the DH tonight, singled his first time up. Navarro recalibrating his strike zone after that first pitch was called the strike.
Thought it was off the plate. Throws it out there again. Hit it to left field. They play him in the shift, so there's only 1 defender on the left side of the infield. That's Manny Machado. Leonard can do that. We've seen him slash balls the other way.
1-1 pitch. Downstairs with the off-speed pitch. Stayed on that pitch there, pounding him away. Gallardo keeping everything away from Navarro.
Well, his first time up, they pounded him in and he beat the shift. Hammering the ball to right field, and now it looks like they've changed up a little bit and they're going to go away. He looks like he's in great shape.
Here's the 2-2 to Navarro off the plate, full count.
He was telling me when I saw him, I said, wow, you look great. He says, I've lost 35 pounds.
Isn't that great?
Yeah.
The older you get, the more you have to work on your physical well-being, and he is trim and looking good. High pop up into shallow center. Machado backing up, and he makes the catch in the outfield. Third baseman rings a long way out there to make that catch. So there are 2 outs in the top of the 4th. Kevin Pillar reached on a fielder's choice. He shattered his bat, hit a soft ground ball to the shortstop J.J. Hardy, who got Navarro at second with the force. Kevin came off the disabled list on the 23rd of August. Coming into this game, he did .346 in those 7 games since his return. We talked a little bit about it last night, and it's his bottom hand, and he has changed the way he holds his thumb to try to avoid further damaging that thumb.
He said normally he'll take that thumb on that bottom hand and wrap it around his fingers. Now I've just moved it down past those 2 fingers, so when I swing through the pitch, I'm not wrapping that bat and jamming that thumb against the bat. You can see he's got that little thumb guard on there to protect that ligament that he stretched. But when you roll in the course of your swing, when you roll the bat through, your thumb has a tendency to get away, and you can aggravate it.
And a run to step down at first base and no swing on the appeal. Umpires are working with a 3-man crew now. Jerry Lane was knocked out of the game. He took a pitch off the mask. So Scott Berry's at third, and they'll have to communicate all night long about the coverage on base hits, gappers.
Yeah, it's nothing new for them. This is how they umpire in the minor leagues with 3 a lot. In spring training, you'll see 3.
Breaking ball into dirt.
Rotation's a little bit different on base hits into the outfield and things like that, how they rotate around the bases. But you're right, they have to communicate and make sure they're all on the same page.
Full count, 2 outs. Pilar can reach. Devin Travis with that next, the number 9 hitter in the Blue Jays lineup. Strike 3 called. Alan Porter brings up Kevin Pilar. Gallardo, a good inning in the top half of the 4th. Chris Davis has really had a great month of August, and his teammates are right there with him. The Orioles have had a unique month in hitting home runs, and they have 3 home run hitters that have hit 10 or more home runs in the month of August. And you see American League home run leaders for the month.
Dozier out in front with 12 carries. Sanchez second with 11. Then the trio of Baltimore Orioles, Davis, Machado, and Trumbo with 10 each. That is a feat that doesn't happen very often in Major League Baseball history, where you've got 3 players hit 10 home runs, double digits in home runs in 1 month.
Yeah, there have only been 4 instances where a team has had 3 10 or more home run hitters in the same month, and you have to go all the way back. It starts with a 47 Giants, the New York Giants, in July. Had 3 hitters hit 10 or more home runs, including Johnny Mize and Bobby Thompson. Now everybody thinks that Bobby Thompson hit 1 home run. That great walk-off home run against the Brooklyn Dodgers to decide the National League pennant. But he had 10 home runs in the month of July, along with 2 of his teammates. The next team that did it was nearly 50 years later, in August of 1996, the great Rockies team. The Blake Street Bombers, Andres Galarraga, Ellis Burks, and Vinny Castilla all had 10 or more home runs. And then last season, the Blue Jays, they did it in August. Josh Donaldson, Edwin Encarnacion, and Jose Bautista.
Make your renovation a cut above during the DIY Expert Sale, only at Home Building Center and Home Hardware Building Center.
Leadoff walk to Chris Davis. Sanchez has walked him twice, the only 2 walks he's allowed tonight. Mark Trumbo grounded into a fielder's choice. 4-6 to end the first.
Well, he's always one pitch away, isn't he? Getting that double play, even though he walked Davis to lead off the 4th inning. If he keeps that ball down and he's got good movement on that fastball, he can get the ball on the ground and the Blue Jays can turn another double play. This is the inning in his last start where he had some trouble. If you remember that start in Cleveland, it took him 40 pitches to get through the 4th inning.
And that inning started the same way with a leadoff walk to Carlos Santana. And then Kipnis hit a double play ball to the second baseman Devin Travis, who made an errant throw. And all hands were safe, and that started the downward trend. This is trouble. That ball is caught by Devin Travis. What an effort by the second baseman. Troy Tulowitzki and Travis both going out. Devin just stayed with it and went all the way out into shallow center field to make the grab.
I was watching Pilar and I was watching Tulowitzki, and I said, well, neither one of them are going to get to it. And then out of nowhere, here comes Devin Travis to take away a hit from Mark Trumbo with a nice sliding catch. Wow. Pilar wasn't going to get there. You can see Tulo wasn't going to get there, but Devin Travis, who was shading him up the middle, gets there to take away that hit. Big play.
Terrific play. That was going to be a mess. A base hit, 2 aboard, nobody out. Now Pedro Alvarez bats with the possibility of a ground ball double play ending the inning. Sanchez delivers a strike.
You can see Josh Donaldson out at shortstop. He's directing traffic, telling everybody, hey, if there's a ground ball to the right side, I'm going to be there. I'm going to turn the double play. I'll stay in the middle of the diamond. But if there is a ground ball and there's not a play, he's got to get over to third base. We saw that happen in last night's ball game.
And Steve Pearce went first to third in the 7th on a ground ball by Pedro Alvarez because they were playing Alvarez in this same shift.
So he'll be there on any ground ball to the right side of the infield. But if the play's not at second base, Josh is going to have to hustle over to third base. He's got that priority right now.
0-2. Ground ball, foul. Yeah, there are a lot of things going on once these teams go into the shift. Alvarez hits the ball very sharply and pulls it more often than not on the right side. So Donaldson is basically straight away at the shortstop position.
And he's always communicating. He's talking to Tulowitzki about his positions, talking to Devin Travis where he wants the ball if there's a ground ball to him.
Alvarez strikes out, and that'll get the defense back to a more normal position.
That looked like a changeup right there. I think it was from Aaron Sanchez. And those touch and feel type of pitches, the curveball from Aaron and the changeup, I think are big pitches for him. Does he have that after being out? And it certainly is a changeup. Good spot for that, down and away to a power hitter.
First strikeout of the ball game for Sanchez. Second out of the inning. Matt Wieters hit one right to Bautista and lined out his first time up. Sanchez throws a first pitch strike. We mentioned Alan Porter was the home plate umpire in game 1 of this series. There were 18 strikeouts in that game. 7 called third strikes.
Change up. Boy, if he's got that working, he's got that curveball working and his fastball, that's when he can be really tough. He's thrown a couple of good ones to these left-handed power hitters this inning.
Ball in the dirt. Aaron Sanchez comes into this game with a 12-2 record. That's the highest single season winning percentage all time for a Blue Jays pitcher. 12-2, that's an .857 winning percentage. Juan Guzman in '93 went 14-3 for the season. Jay Happ this season has the 3rd highest winning percentage at 17-4. One, 2 off the end of the bat. Jack Morris in 1992, his first season with the Blue Jays, went 21-6 for a 778 win percentage, and then Roger Clemens in 98 went 20-6, a 769 win percentage. So right now, where Sanchez is at 12-2, the highest single season win percentage all time for a Blue Jays pitcher. Curveball pulled on the ground. Travis gets it and fires to first to end the inning. Devin Travis made a nice defensive play to take a hit away. Blue Jays have a 3-0 lead. Now time for a Blue Jays Central update. Here's Hazel May and Greg Zahn in the Samsung broadcast studio.
Blue Jays season ticket memberships, and with that have the opportunity to purchase postseason tickets for this year. It is a limited time offer though while supplies last. There are so many great reasons to be a season ticket holder. Some of those benefits include exclusive events and enrollment into the My Blue Jays member program. Visit bluejays.com/season tickets for more details. Buck and Pat, back to you.
Thank you, Barry. We move to the 5th. Devin Travis will lead things off, then Bautista and Donaldson will follow. 3-0 Blue Jays. Scored all their runs in the first. Jose Bautista a leadoff home run. Russell Martin a 2-run home run with 2 outs.
Got to get Devin going again. He hasn't had a hit yet in this series. They've caught him a couple of times leaning out over the plate on that outside pitch, and they've thrown it inside to him. He's been able to get the head out and jammed a couple of times, hit into a double play last time up. Here it is again.
And right back inside, and he is 0 for 8 in the series so far. Picked up an RBI in the first game on Monday night on a ground ball to the second baseman. It was a big RBI as the Blue Jays scored 2 runs in the top of the ninth to expand their lead to 5-1. Everybody knows Travis now, and they're trying to keep the ball in tight on him more often than not.
Hitters who go to right field can really handle the ball away from them. They just reach out there and they just poke the ball to right field. It's when you start coming in with hard stuff like that, when they're looking out there, that's when you got to be just a little bit shorter, just a little bit quicker. And the Orioles have gone back and forth against him, in and out.
Ground ball, Scope backhands, throws quickly in time. Travis is retired. Smooth play by Jonathan Scope.
You know what happens when they start pitching you inside, you start fighting that ball off of you. And you start jamming yourself when you're like looking for the ball out in front of home plate. You start stepping towards home plate, you jam yourself and you just fight the ball off of you.
Well, Jose Bautista is off to a good start tonight. He's 2 for 2 with a home run. He is 9 for 27 since coming off the disabled list. 333 average. Gallardo misses low with that first pitch. Well, wouldn't it be nice if Bautista could get on a big roll here in the final month of the season?
Well, we've seen it in the past from Jose that he's able to carry a ball club all by himself for a week when he gets hot like that. Not like Edward Encarnacion. Those big home run hitters have a tendency to be able to do that.
Well, the top three in the Blue Jays order, they can do it all single-handedly. Bautista, Donaldson, and Encarnacion. When they are all clicking, it's no contest.
Yeah. And when you get the bottom of the order, and you made the motion earlier about Navarro, Pilar, and Travis down at the bottom of the lineup look very dangerous. When they start getting on base and turn that lineup over for those three guys at the top, Bautista, Donaldson, and Encarnacion, watch out. That's when the Blue Jays are going to take off offensively.
Well, when you have guys on base ahead of Bautista and Donaldson, you have nowhere to put them. You don't have any wiggle room, so you have to be a little bit more aggressive.
Well, one swing of the bat is 3 runs. Got to get them on.
3-1 pitch. Grounded, big hop for J.J. Hardy at short. 2 down. Let's check in with Hazel May. Thank you very much. That home run off Luis Cessa. Ian Kennedy has really thrown the ball well for Kansas City. And they are trying to scratch and claw their way back into this pennant race on this final day of August. Kansas City has really put on a second half surge.
Yeah, they're doing a pretty good job of getting back into the picture.
They won 7 of their last 10 games. At the start of play tonight, they are 6.5 back in 3rd place in the AL Central. Josh Donaldson extended his hit streak to 10 straight with a single his last time up. He shot the ball into right field. They're playing him in the shift much like they are right now, and he just took the pitch away and slapped it into right.
It's there if you want it. All night long. See that hole on the right side of the infield? Jonathan Scope playing shortstop. Chris Davis at first base.
Gallardo took too much time. He and Wieters have had a little bit of trouble tonight getting on the same page. Inside, 2-1. You look at the hitters around baseball for the month of August. Mookie Betts and Trey Turner of the National have tied for the lead with 45 hits. Betts hitting .378. Turner hitting .357.
45 hits in 1 month. Wow.
Well, and for Mookie Betts, 8 doubles and 9 home runs, 27 RBIs in the month.
They moved him into the cleanup spot. He's taken off, hasn't he?
That he has. Here's the 2-2 to Donaldson. There's a wide one. It's now a full count, and Encarnacion is waiting on deck. Hit hard, but right to the shortstop. Hardy. Plenty of time. 3 up, 3 down. Gallardo has retired 7 straight, trying to keep his Orioles within striking distance. battling for a starting spot in the rotation in spring training. It came down to the wire, but look at the Blue Jays starters ERA, and Sanchez is leading the rotation.
How about that? In spring training, he was in a fight with Jesse Chavez and Gavin Floyd to be the starter, and he won that with a great spring, and he hasn't stopped. He's been outstanding this year. 292 earned run average. Jay Happ, Estrada, Dickey, Stroman, every one of them. Their starters ERA, you combine them, it's #1 in the American League for starters earned run average. That, I think, has been the bonus, I think, for the Blue Jays this year. What have they used? 7 starters all season long?
7 starters, all with 6 in the rotation now, and Drew Hutchison, who was traded to Pittsburgh in the Liriano deal. And that's good fortune. They have kept them healthy. Pete Walker and Dane Johnson done a terrific job, along with the training staff, to keep the starters healthy, keep them fit, keep them in the rotation. They've done a terrific job this season. And you want to know how you win championships, win pennants, and go to the World Series? Starter wins. The Blue Jays starters have 57 wins, 2 more than the Boston Red Sox, 3 more than the Cleveland Indians, and 7 more than the Tigers. Off the end of the bat, Tulowitzki near the bag, and he makes a nice play on his counterpart, J.J. Hardy. Not sure if Sanchez kicked at that and slowed it down. I know he kicked at it. I wasn't sure if he hit it or not.
Looked like it might have been heading to center field. Let's see from up here. Kicks at it. No, it just hit the mound awkwardly and slowed the ball down. That gave Tulo a chance to get over there and record the first out. He smothered that ball. Just attacked that ground ball. Smothered it and made the play.
Nolan Reinbold swings at the first pitch and hits it right to Kevin Pillar. 2 quick outs for Sanchez here in the 5th. Remember, Aaron had a long delay in the 3rd inning when the home plate umpire, Jerry Lane, was hit by a pitch in the mask and had to leave the game. There was a 12-minute delay. Sanchez never left the field. He just stood out near the mound and waited for Alan Porter to take over behind home plate. Lane has gone into the Orioles clubhouse with the training staff.
Wonder if that was a superstitious thing, that he came out, he got the first out of the inning. It's like he didn't want to go back and sit down and then have to come back out.
That's a good point. He was, a lot of the Blue Jays left the field. The outfielders stayed out in center, but some of the infielders went in, sat down on the dugout bench. 2 away, we're in the 5th.
Notice his catcher stayed right there with him. Russell didn't go in and sit down. He stayed right there with his starter.
That's a strike, but they didn't get the call. Porter has been good side to side. He has not called that high strike consistently, going back to the first game of the series when he worked home. But I like his wide strike zone. Sharply hit into right. Kim has a base hit. 3rd hit of the night for the Orioles. A 2-out single in the 5th.
Not much power, so you can challenge him. He just finds a hole on the right side.
This is Kim's first season in the major leagues. He played 10 years in the Korean baseball organization, the Korean major leagues, if you will. He had 142 home runs, so he's never been a real power hitter.
No. Sprays the ball around, takes a lot of pitches. You mentioned the 3rd hit of the night for the Orioles, all singles. That's what you got to do. You got to lock these guys down.
Jonathan Scope has one of those singles. He goes after the first pitch. Encarnacion over near the wall. It's out of his reach. Scope, like Russell Martin, a very aggressive first pitch hitter. Swings at the first pitch about 43% of the time he's hit the plate. I think the Blue Jays hitting coaches would like their team to be a little more aggressive early in the at-bats. They take a lot of first pitch strikes.
We've seen some of the Blue Jay hitters take off offensively more aggressive they are. Like Troy Tulowitzki's been a lot more aggressive. His batting average has gone up. Russell Martin the same way. You see his batting average start to rise.
This is popped up over the screen and out of play.
Scope's just a good hitter. He and Manny Machado, the on-deck hitter for the Baltimore Orioles, they've been playing together for a long time. Came up through the minor league system pretty much the same time. They were the double play combination in the Double-A team back in 2012. How about that double play combination in the minor leagues?
Manny Machado at the time was playing shortstop, and Scope was the second baseman. This is the 4th season in the big leagues for Scope. His second full season. He had injuries in 2015. This year he's played in all the games. I mean, all the games. He's only not played 2 innings at second base this season. He's 24 years old. He comes from Curaçao, born in Willemstad, Curaçao.
What is it with the Ironmen here in Baltimore? Cal Ripken did it at a premium position, shortstop for years and years and years. Here's another one. This guy just doesn't come out of the lineup.
Well, we had a chance to meet with the Hall of Famer Jim Palmer before the game, and he mentioned Cal Ripken Sr. and how he had set the standard for the Orioles in the 60s. Minor league instructor, later on big league coach, big league manager, and he demanded a lot. Palmer was part of that great organization as they built a tradition here.
He demanded that you took infield and you got on the back end of that, the other end of that fungo, and you worked at it and you made yourself a good defender.
Troy Tulowitzki with a little piece of advice for Aaron Sanchez. We've noticed it more and more now that he's in his second season with the Blue Jays, that he has definitely become the leader. He's not very outspoken, but boy, when he talks, everybody listens.
I asked him about that play the other day. I said, great pickup on getting the ball in on Trevor Plouffe. He said, it was just a suggestion. I got to give credit to the pitcher, Scott Feldman. He's the guy who made the pitch. And boy, did he ever. Jammed him up, and they got a double play, got out of that inning, won the ball game.
But isn't that typical Tulowitzki?
Yeah.
Deferring the attention to his teammates.
Deflected to somebody else.
Little chopper off home plate. Sanchez will watch it go foul.
Boy, just when you thought Aaron was going to have a quick inning, he got rid of J.J. Hardy quickly. Nolan Reimold on one pitch, 2 quick outs. And now he's had to work this inning. Gave up the 2-out hit to Kim. Now Jonathan Scope is becoming a very tough out, just like he was last night against Jason Grilli in the 8th inning.
He drew that 2-out walk ahead of the Weeders home run, a difference in the ball game.
Jason kept saying, I kept throwing that breaking ball thinking that he was going to go after it. He never did. Showed a lot of patience.
Ripped into left field. Saunders over to cut it off. Kim's going to third. Here's the throw. It is not in time. What a good piece of base running by Kim. Really forcing the action, and he showed good speed.
Well, 2 outs, he's running on anything. Another really good at bat by Jonathan Scope. Long at bat. He sends it into left field for a base hit, but 2 outs. You are running on anything. And once he saw Michael Saunders have to move for this ball, rip down the left field line, Saunders gets over there to cut it off. And he comes up firing. He keeps the ball down low. But Kim just kept running. And he made up his mind right there that he was going to go first to third on that base hit.
Good aggressive slide into the bag. And now there are runners at the corners for Manny Machado. Scope is 2 for 3. We talked to the hitting coach, Scott Coolbaugh, during BP about Manny Machado and asked him why he is such a good hitter at such a young age. He said he doesn't panic. He just has a very low-key approach to everything. Jam. Donaldson boots it. A run comes in. Machado got jammed and hit a soft grounder to third. Donaldson just made an error, his 10th of the season, and the Orioles are on the board.
2 quick outs, and now the Orioles never say die. Make you earn every one of those outs. Single, single. Now it looks like they're going to get out of the inning. That just looked ugly from the beginning. Ball stayed down on Donaldson. Tries to come in and catch it with one hand, and you can see it's in the glove and then it's out of the glove for an error.
For JD, that's his 10th error of the season. It allows Kim to score. And how about that base running play by Kim? He goes first to third, and that results in a run. And that will be noticed, of course, by all the Orioles as he goes first to third on the base hit and scores on the error by Donaldson.
Yeah, first to third on a base hit. A sharply hit hard ball to left field. And now you got to deal with Chris Davis.
Sanchez has thrown 19 pitches in this inning.
He threw 4 to get the first 2 outs. And it looked like it was going to be an easy inning.
It's never an easy inning when you have to deal with Machado and Davis in the same inning. 3-1 Blue Jays.
Getting that pitch count up. Now it's up to 84. So Pete Walker's going to get on that phone and get somebody started in that bullpen.
To me, those pitches all reflect fatigue in this inning. Not so much over the course of the game, but he's thrown a lot of pitches in this inning now. 22 pitches in the inning, and he's lost his legs a little bit.
Yeah.
He can't get the ball down.
Start losing your legs. There's Scott Feldman. He's going to start working to get loose. And everything is up.
Davis walks for a 3rd time tonight. That loads the bases.
Good move by Sanchez. Get off the mound, take a deep breath, get your sights back, give yourself a little bit of a pep talk. You got a tough hitter at the plate in Mark Trumbo. Just reset yourself.
Trumbo was robbed of a hit his last time up. He hit a little dying quail into center field. Devin Travis went out and made a nice catch. He's 0 for 2.
Getting underneath that fastball. That's 5 straight balls up in the strike zone.
Trumbo is 0 for 9 in the series. Fly ball. Bautista has plenty of room in right. Trumbo is 0 for 10, and the Orioles leave the bases loaded, but they get on the board. A run scores on the air by Donaldson. It's 3-1 Blue Jays. The Blue Jays will send Edwin Encarnacion to the plate when we come back. Then Michael Saunders and Russell Martin, who's homered tonight.
Friend, well, WestJet will match your status and treat you like gold. Learn more at westjet.com/getgold. Buck?
Thank you, Barry. We head to the top of the sixth. It'll be Encarnacion, Saunders, and Martin to bat for the Blue Jays. Giovanni Gallardo has really calmed things down. He has retired 7 in a row.
They had him on the ropes in the third inning. Bautista, Donaldson led off with base hits. They were wild pitched to second and third. Didn't score a run.
Buck Showalter walked the bases loaded. He walked Michael Saunders and then got the double play from Russell Martin. Off the end of the bat, Reimer over into the alley, makes the catch. 1 out. Let's check in with Hazel Miller. Thank you very much, Hazel. And the Cubs, where there was just no stopping the Cubs. Jason Hamill, 3 innings of 1-hit ball, and he struck out 3. Every night they get a well-pitched game.
Yeah, I think you're looking at the National League MVP there too. Chris Bryant following up his Rookie of the Year last year with an MVP. You can see that happening.
That doesn't happen very often in baseball. That one player would win Rookie of the Year and then followed up with the MVP award.
It would only be the 4th time ever. Dustin Pedroia did it, Ryan Howard did it, and Cal Ripken did it. If Chris Bryant does it, just the 4th time ever.
Michael Saunders was given the intentional walk in the 3rd. He walked in the 1st inning ahead of the Russell Martin home run.
Now, how many managers do you know would intentionally walk a guy in the 3rd inning to load the bases?
1.
The guy who did it?
Yeah, Buck Showalter is always aggressive about that. And you mentioned it earlier in this series, how he had walked Barry Bonds with the bases loaded because he had a multiple run lead and figured it was better to walk Bonds and force in 1 run.
He was taking a gamble there, taking the bat out of the hands of Michael Saunders and hoping that he would get the ground ball off the bat of Russell Martin, and it worked out for him.
Buck Showalter is managing in his 7th season as the Orioles manager.
He is 1 win away from tying Miller Huggins for 25th all time.
He can do that Friday.
Yeah, not today. Forget about that. But Miller Huggins, I mean, come on.
Now, Buck has managed the Yankees, the Diamondbacks, the Rangers, and now the Orioles, and he's been manager of the year 3 different times. 2-2 to Michael Saunders. Outside, it's a full count. Michael missed some time with a hamstring problem. Got back in the lineup last night and took advantage of his matchup against Ubaldo Jimenez. Another home run off Jimenez. Had a double his first time up. Shoots that one down the left side, slicing foul. Michael was 2 for 3 in the game last night. It was lifted in favor of the pinch hitter, Darwin Barney. In the 9th inning, Barney got a 2-out pinch hit single. In case you're just joining us, Darwin Barney has left the team to attend to a family matter. Brian Goins has been called up from AAA Buffalo to take Barney's spot on the roster. And tomorrow the rosters can expand September 1st. The breaking ball. 2 down. Start of the game brought to you by the all-new Civic, the 2016 North American Car of the Year.
I got some trivia for you. When Russell Martin stepped to the plate right here, there have been 1,033 home runs hit in the month of August. This is 1,034. That's a new major league record for home runs in a month. It's the 16th home run for Russell Martin on the season, 10th in the month of August. 44 home runs now in the month of August for the Blue Jays. How about that? Over 1,000 home runs hit in the month of August, the most in Major League history.
And what's really interesting is pitching is thought to be at an all-time high. Strikeouts are through the roof, but home runs have also jumped.
putting on a nice little surge here at the end of the season. Russell, as he heads into the month of September, now up to 16 home runs and 61 driven in.
Ground ball to Hardy. No problem at all. Across the diamond in time. 3 up, 3 down. Gallardo is really in a groove. He retired 10 straight. Ahead, brought to you by WestJet. The two teams have split the first 2 games of this series. Blue Jays will have the off day tomorrow down in St. Petersburg ahead of the 3-game series against the Rays. Then the Yankees in New York. Monday's a day game on Labor Day, and then Blue Jays will return home after the off day. Open up a big series against the Red Sox starting on the 9th.
Yeah, the month of September, all but 7 games are against the American League East. The Blue Jays still have a West Coast trip in them. They have to go to Los Angeles and Seattle. That's always a fun trip. But everybody else, the American League East, so you'd love to be playing your best baseball as you head into the month of September.
After this game tonight, the Blue Jays will have 29 games left on their schedule. Hard to believe. The dog days of August coming to an end. Now we move into the stretch drive. September. Pedro Alvarez 0 for 2. Aaron Sanchez, first start in 11 days, has looked sharp.
Yeah, he's walked Chris Davis 3 times. He hasn't been able to throw any strikes to the big first baseman. Other than that, he's been good.
Maybe that's by design. Chris Davis has 3 career home runs against Sanchez. A ball and 2 strikes to Alvarez. Breaking ball in the dirt.
His only strikeout of the night, which is hard to believe. I mean, he's a strikeout type of guy, and the Orioles will have their share of strikeouts. Came against the guy at the plate, Pedro Alvarez. He threw him a great changeup last time up. See if he goes back to it here with 2 strikes.
Elevated the fastball.
Where the Orioles are grinding out at bats against Aaron. They are making it work. Look at his shirt. Look how dark and gray that is from the perspiration. It's a hot night here in Baltimore.
Ripped foul down the right side. Got in on his hands just a bit. The lowest strikeout total for a start this season for Aaron Sanchez is 3, and he's done that 5 times. So Pete Walker knows that Sanchez is getting near the end of the line. And he'll get somebody up and working in the bullpen. Sanchez still has good velocity on his fastball. Scott Feldman is up for a second time. He was up earlier, back in the 5th inning. Feldman spent some time pitching for the Orioles. Came here in 2013, made 15 starts for Baltimore. And they will pop up into the seats. Feldman came to the Orioles from the Chicago Cubs with Steve Clevenger for a fellow named Jake Arrieta. That was July 2nd, 2013. Alvarez hanging tough against Sanchez. Here's another 3-2 pitch. Another foul out of play.
Where they're having some tough at bats, making it life tough for Aaron tonight. Just can't finish them off.
Changeup, and Alvarez gets a piece of it.
10 pitch at bats. You'd like to have those quick at bats.
Well, Sanchez really worked in the 5th inning, and he was able to get out of that inning with minimal damage, just a run on 2 hits. He stranded the base loaded, but he threw over 20 pitches in that inning.
Nice.
Curveball. Drops the curveball in there for the second strikeout. Second time he's gotten Alvarez. This time it was a hook, and he couldn't pull the trigger.
How about that for confidence? 11th pitch of the at-bat. He tried fastballs and changeups. And you know what? I'm throwing the deuce. And he dropped the curveball on him and locked him up.
One away in the 6th. I think John Gibbons has his mind made up that this will probably be the last inning for Sanchez. He gets 6 innings out of him, he'll be pleased. Wieters goes after the first pitch. Wieters 0 for 2. Orioles again held down to just 4 hits by Sanchez.
They've left 7 runners on base tonight. It's been a tough night against a tough offense, yet they've only scored 1 run so far.
Past Tulowitzki into left field for Wieters. That's the 5th single for Baltimore.
Wieters has been swinging a hot bat. He had the big home run last night, the eventual game winner in the 8th inning. That time stayed on that sinker down and away and just poked it the other way. Maybe checking that lineup card one more time. You can see his mind thinking right here. How long does he want to go with Sanchez? Is there a batter in this lineup that he doesn't want Aaron to face?
I would think it'd be Jonathan Scope if he gets back to that spot in the order. Scope is already 2 for 3 on Sanchez. But the one thing is, Aaron's kept them all to singles, 5 singles in the game.
The only run they scored was on an error. If he can throw a well-placed fastball with some movement on it and get the ball on the ground, he can get out of this inning.
Hardy has hit 2 ground balls to the shortstop. Swings and misses at that pitch. It's a ball on strike. Didn't get the call on that pitch number 3 just off the outside corner. 2-1 now. Remember, the home plate umpire that started behind the plate, Jerry Lane, was knocked out of this game by a Sanchez fastball. It went off Russell Martin's glove and hit Lane in the mask. So fly ball to center. Pilar back near the track. makes the catch. Hardy's retired on the deep fly ball to center. 2 away now.
Managers will watch the reactions of the hitters, how they hit the ball off of their pitcher when they're getting towards the end. You can see Gibby and Pete Walker talking about it right here.
This is what you call managing your bullpen innings now. They're looking at the spot in the order. They're in the 9th spot for Baltimore now. We'll close out the 6th. And then, of course, the top part of the order. And you always got to keep your eye on Machado, Davis, and Trumbo. Each of those hitters have 30 or more home runs.
He would probably love to see Aaron get Reimold right here. And then he can bring in whoever, Feldman or Benoit, to start the 7th inning. This would be a good time, I think, to go out there and say, hey, this is your last battle. Finish him off. I'm going to give you a little bit of a blow here when I come out and talk to you. Give me everything you got here against this number 9 hitter.
Curveball called a strike. Reimold thought it might have been up. 1-2 now. You can see Sanchez, he's wearing down.
Yes. Yes, he is. After every pitch, he's walking off the mound and wiping his brow and trying to catch his breath.
This has been a grind, although he has allowed just 1 run on 5 hits. He's had to work for it. Curveball outside, 2-2.
Reimold is an outstanding fastball hitter. There's Aaron going back to the mound again. You can see the perspiration just wringing off of his forehead.
Another curveball, and that's going to run the count to full. Hyun-Soo Kim is on deck. He is 1 for 3. The Blue Jays have just 1 lefty in their pen. Kim doesn't have a hit against the left-handed pitcher this season. But we're in the 6th. Reimold hits it on the ground. Tulowitzki hits short. That'll do it. Aaron Sanchez is through 6 innings, and he walks off the mound with the lead in his return to the rotation. Blue Jays have a 3-1 lead. Congratulations from the manager and a big embrace from his catcher for a job well done in his return to the rotation. Sanchez is in line for his 13th win of the season. Giovanni Gallardo, the starter for the Orioles, he is done tonight. He went 6 innings, allows 3 runs on 5 hits, and both those big hits came in the first inning. A couple of home runs. Jose Bautista, Russell Martin homered in the first. That's been it.
Yeah, he was shaky the first 3 innings. He pitched out of trouble in the second and the third inning. Retired the last 11 batters in a row, and now Michael Givens for the 53rd time. Look at those numbers. 8-1 with a 354 earned run average. He leads the O's relievers with 77 strikeouts this season, and he is tied with his teammate Brad Brock from Major League League with those 8 wins out of the bullpen.
Brock was the winning pitcher in last night's game. Tulowitzki takes the first pitch, strike. Givens worked in game 1 on Monday night. He had a good inning. He had a walk and a strikeout. Faced the top 4 in the Blue Jays order. Joaquin Benoit appears to be getting ready to come in to work the 7th. 0-2 to Tulowitzki. Boy, these have been great games, haven't they? Back and forth, tight ball games. Blue Jays have homered twice in this game. It's the 54th time they have had multiple home runs in a game.
That's second most in the American League to, I think everybody knows, the Baltimore Orioles. They lead.
Orioles have done it 58 times. Jose Bautista hit the first pitch of the ball game out of the ballpark against Giovanni Gallardo.
Blue Jays trying to make that 3 runs in the first inning stand up. Love to see him scratch a few runs across here.
Tulowitzki fights it off and stays alive.
This is a lot like Monday's game, isn't it? Blue Jays got up 3-1 late into that game, held on, scored a couple of runs late to win 5-1, but that thing could have gone either way in the 6th, 7th, and 8th inning.
Justin Smoke and Devin Travis with big RBIs in the 9th inning to give the Blue Jays a cushion. In that game Monday, Benoit came into the ball game and retired the side in order with a couple of strikeouts.
And it looks like the same plan. Although we might see Brett Cecil get up next inning with Chris Davis in mind.
Tulowitzki strikes out, 1 away. This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of Rogers Blue Jays Baseball Partnership and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of Rogers Blue Jays Baseball Partnership. Another terrific ball game. Blue Jays get 2 home runs in the first inning. Orioles got a run in the 5th, and that's where we stand here in the 7th. Johnny Navarro in his first game back with the Blue Jays in the lineup as the DH tonight. With the White Sox this season, Navarro served as the DH just in 1 game. In his 2 seasons with the Blue Jays, he was a DH over 30 times. They used him a lot, and he hit .297 as the DH for the Jays.
He just signed with the White Sox at the time, figuring he'd get a little bit more playing time. And then they got Alex Avila, and he became the #1 catcher. He got hurt, missed some time. Navarro got to catch a little bit more. They did not need him as the DH, but he can swing the bat.
Navarro, for his career, has now 40 games as the DH. Hunter Wendelstedt having a laugh with Deon Navarro about that last line drive. Hunter had to scramble to get out of the way of it. Broken bat, Looper into right. Trumbo a long run. He's not going to get there. Second hit of the ball game for Navarro. He got jammed, may have broken his bat, but he ends up with his second hit of the game.
Yeah, that bat died a hero. Fought that thing off and he broke his bat. One more time, Gibbons gets in there with that fastball. It breaks the bat, but he gets enough of it. You can see that bat broken in his hand as he finishes his swing. Hit it in a right spot. His second hit of the night. It's his first hit off of Michael Gibbons in his career.
Kevin Pillar's 0-2. Caught looking at strike 3 back in the 4th. Boy, he had a good rip at that fastball.
He was guessing fastball, wasn't he? Guessing fastball, and he had a healthy cut.
Strike 2. Of course, this is the final day to make those acquisitions to have players eligible for the postseason. There are some rumors around. It appears as though the Orioles have picked up Michael Bourne from the Arizona Diamondbacks. Pillar strikes out. Gibbons his second strikeout in the inning.
He just went with all fastballs against Pillar. The ball is foul tipped and held on by Matt Wieters. Yeah, the Orioles, supposedly they picked up Drew Stubbs earlier today to help in the outfield, and now this rumor of Michael Bourne possibly coming here. This is why he leads the relievers in strikeouts with 77, now 79, as that ball is foul tipped into the glove of Wieters. He's got a good fastball.
Devin Travis grounded into a double play and grounded out. Pulls that one past Machado down the left field line. It's a fair ball. Navarro's headed for third. Rivera's going to wave him home. The relay from Scope is not in time. Navarro got the wave and scores all the way from first.
And his teammates are loving that. That's a big add-on run for the Blue Jays. Navarro didn't figure that he was going to score on that, but Devin Travis crossed up the defense and pulled the ball down the line. Navarro is going to scamper all the way around the bases from first base to score a big run for the Blue Jays. Buck Showalter is out to talk to the umpires.
I'm not sure what Showalter's concern is, but he popped out of the dugout immediately when Navarro slid into home plate. Remember, there are only 3 umpires working, as the crew chief, Jerry Lane, was knocked out of the game in the 3rd inning, and Showalter's looking back at his dugout.
He's asking for something here. Navarro, what a job. What a job by Luis Rivera to read the relay throw from the left fielder Kemp. He overshot that ball is fair down the left field line. Does the fan touch it? No, nobody touched that. But Kim's throw overthrows the cutoff man. That's J.J. Hardy, and that allowed Navarro to squirt in with the run. Here he's scoring, running, 2 outs, running on anything. Hustling. Now he's got to pick up his coach right here. And there he comes. Big add-on run.
Well, you mentioned DeAndre lost 35 pounds and it allowed him to get around the bases. He scores all the way from first, and that's a big run for the Jays. For Devin Travis, another RBI, his second RBI of the series, his first hit in the 3 games.
Well, you can sit down now and get yourself a drink of water. Enjoy that trip around the bases.
Jose Bautista behind 0-2. And he strikes out. Givens strikes out the side, but he gives up an RBI double to Devin Travis. And the Blue Jays add on a run here in the top of the 7th. Aaron Sanchez is done. Joaquin Benoit will come on. He's rejoining the Blue Jays, and he's taking some heat about his trip around the bases, but it's all good-natured fun.
Yeah, well, you're at first base, and there's a double to left center field, and maybe he's anticipating just going to third base, but when he picks up Luis Rivera, he says, come on, bring it on. He read that throw, and here comes Deanna as he slides home safely. Now he can rest because he earned it. That was a long trip around the bases to score that 4th run.
He looked up at Rivera and got the wave around third. He said, oh boy, here we go. Aaron Sanchez, in his return to the starting rotation, has 6 good innings. He allowed just 5 hits, no earned runs. The only run the Orioles scored was an unearned run. He walked 3. All 3 walks issued to Chris Davis. He struck out a season-low 2. But he's in line for his 13th win of the season.
Yeah, and threw a season-high 112 pitches to get through those 6 innings. He now gives way to Joaquin Benoit, the 2nd time that we've seen Benoit in this series. He has taken over that 7th inning for the Blue Jays. He will get the top of the lineup. Kim, Scope, and Machado. No easy task.
Kim singled his last time up. Benoit faced Machado, Davis, and Trumbo in the 9th inning on Monday and retired the side in order with a couple of strikeouts. Russell does that as well as any catcher in baseball, catching that low strike.
Yeah, and bringing it right there. We saw this from Alan Porter, the home plate umpire, on Monday night. He will be generous on the corner. So set up out there and hold it. You'll get the call.
Change up in there. 2-2 to leadoff man Kim here in the 7th. Blue Jays added a run in the top half of this inning, and they now lead it 4-1.
Joaquin's been golden since they got him from Seattle. 10 strikeouts in 13 innings, 11 hits, no runs. Throwing hard. He's been low 90s, but he's got that split finger fastball.
Hasn't allowed a run in 14 1/3 innings. Got the longest active scoreless streak in the American League. He jams Kim with that inside pitch. One more look at Navarro and the slide. You can see the bench. Look at Michael Saunders going, way to go. That's a long run around there. 270 feet.
He's probably saying, hey, I know exactly how he feels. That's how I feel after I circle the bases. But that's a big run for the Blue Jays. I think that's why you saw the bench erupt like that.
Martin wanted that pitch, a leadoff walk issued to Kim. Fourth walk taken by the Orioles.
Wow, Russell really wanted that. So did all the Blue Jays. And Benoit thought he had him struck out on that low fastball. But he doesn't get the call. Now he's got to deal with Scope.
Everybody knows this is a very explosive Orioles lineup. 7th inning. And they have the ability to come back just like the Blue Jays.
Yeah, no easy outs. Tonight it's been tough at bats against Blue Jay pitching.
Jonathan Scope 2 for 3. Takes the first pitch strike. The Orioles have 43 wins here at home. That's the 3rd most home wins in the majors. With breaking ball, 0-2 to Scope.
They're tough here at home. 43 W's. They also hit a lot of home runs in this ballpark.
112 home runs here at Oriole Park at Camden Yards. So far tonight, Blue Jays have kept them in the yard. Last night, the Orioles hit 3 in their win.
That's what I like about Benoit. He just, nothing phases him, and he has that ability to slow everything down. Watch when he comes set, how he just takes an extra breath just to slow everything down, concentrate and focus and make a good pitch.
1-2 to Scope. Well, he got deep in that kitchen that time. Benoit is 39 years old. This is his 15th season in the majors. He's pitching in his 702nd major league game. So he has seen just about every situation, and you're right, he's not going to panic.
And he's not going to rush himself. He's a lot like Jason Grilli, who's been pitching a long time. Just take your time and concentrate from pitch to pitch to get through these innings.
Boy, what a swing by Scope to spoil that tough 2-strike pitch.
Oh, he's had some good at-bats, Scope. They're moving him up the lineup. On Monday, he led off. Last night's ball game, he hit in an RBI situation. He hit 6th, and tonight, hit in front of all the big home run hitters, hitting 2nd.
Ball, Donaldson third, double play ball. That's short hop, and Donaldson turned quickly and fired to Travis at second. Scope hit it hard, but right to the third baseman.
You know, there was a play like that in Monday night in the 7th inning after a leadoff walk, a line drive by Wieters right at Smoke that they turned a big double play on. The same thing here tonight. Leadoff walk to Kim here in the 7th inning, and then what a play by Donaldson at third base. Calmly backhands that ball, throws a strike over to Devin Travis, and Devin finishes it off with a strong throw.
Yeah, that double play in the 7th, Marco Estrada said that was the play of the game in his winning effort on Monday. The Wieters hit it right to Smoke, who stepped on the bag for the double play. This is how you want to face this man right here. 2 outs, nobody on. Manny Machado is 1 for 3, reached on an error in the 5th. Donaldson committed the error to allow the only Orioles run. Fly ball to left. Saunders has plenty of room. That's the inning. Benoit does another great job. A leadoff walk, a double play, and a fly ball out. We'll go to the 8th. The Blue Jays have a 4-1 lead.
Presented by the all-new 2017 Ridgeline. A lot of things have changed, but one thing hasn't. Honda, official vehicle of the Toronto Blue Jays. Proud fan since 1977.
That 8th, acknowledging the great Hall of Famer Cal Ripken as he made his whole career right here in Baltimore. This is Brad Brock, who picked up the win in last night's game. Brock's record for the season, 8-2. And he is on in relief now to work the 8th inning.
Well, when you're facing the first place team, you got to throw your best relievers out there. We saw Michael Gibbons last inning. Now Brad Brock, he with his 8 wins also, 164 earned run average. Righties have not had any fun against Brock this year. They're hitting .095, and there's some good right-handed hitters coming up this inning for the Blue Jays. So Mark Showalter brings in his all-star reliever to face him.
Donaldson takes a first pitch strike. Josh has extended his hit streak 10 straight games with a single in the 3rd. Back into this bullpen is really tough, and they're missing one key member of that bullpen. Darren O'Day has been on the disabled list twice. Early in the season with a hamstring injury. Now he's got shoulder problems.
And they keep talking about that, how bad they miss their setup man, Darren O'Day. The guys who have picked up the slack, though, have been Gibbons and Brock. They picked up Tommy Hunter from the Cleveland Indians to help get to Zach Britton. That's one of the strengths, I think, of the Orioles this year, is their bullpen. It's been outstanding.
Fly ball, shallow center, long run for Scope, and it's off his glove, and Donaldson, big turnaround first. Scope was in the shift, and Reimold, the center fielder, was deep. With respect to Donaldson's power, Scope headed out to center and had to go off his glove. It looked like it sliced away from him right at the end.
Yeah, and Nolan Reimold was not going to get it. Watch him out in center field, freeze for just a second. So the only guy who had a shot was Scope. And it's off of his gloves. Now Josh Donaldson had some thoughts of maybe turning this into a double. You can see right off of his glove, but a quick reaction by Trumbo, the right fielder, makes Josh Donaldson put on the brakes and go back to first base.
Scope off his glove. That's a hit for Donaldson. As his second hit of the night. Encarnacion is 0 for. He is 0 for 3. Edwin is 3 for 12 against Brad Brock, and he has hit a home run off the righty.
He hit it to right field, didn't he?
It's a game winner, a walk-off home run he hit at Rogers Center in the 10th inning. That happened earlier this season. Ground ball. Hardy quickly flips to Scope, steps on the bag, takes his time, and kind of shot his double up. J.J. Hardy, you talk about an internal clock. I mean, there was no rush whatsoever once he had it in his glove.
Yeah, for him or Scope. Third double play that the Orioles have turned tonight. That's 136 double plays that they have turned this season now. Watch Hardy catch it, and he throws it to Scope, and Jonathan Scope really took his time to make sure that his left foot was on that base because he knew that ball was hit so hard they were going to turn double play no matter what.
Yeah, they had so much time because it was so sharply hit right at the shortstop. 2 away for Michael Saunders. Michael has walked twice, once intentionally, and he struck out. Not many Blue Jays have really had much success against Brad Brock, but Saunders is the exception. He's 3 for 5 against Brock, as you see Brett Cecil.
A couple of lefties coming up, Davis and Alvarez. So looks like Brett Cecil's going to come in to pitch the 8th.
Swinging a drive deep to right, get up, ball and gone. We mentioned Saunders hits Brock well. That's his 4th hit against Brad Brock, the 3rd home run the Blue Jays have hit tonight.
Well, I guess now I see why Buck Showalter intentionally walked Michael Saunders back in the 3rd inning to load up the bases, because he knows Michael has had one heck of a year against the Baltimore Orioles this year offensively.
That's his 10th career home run here at Oriole Park at Camden Yards. His 7th home run against the Orioles this season. 3 home runs tonight for the Blue Jays. They're closing ground on the Orioles in that department.
Boy, that thing got out of here quick from Michael Saunders. It's a lot like the home run he hit the other day against Ubaldo Jimenez. Ball that is up. Look how he gets on top of that thing and drives through it and gets it up over the scoreboard. Another big add-on run for the Blue Jays.
Russell Martin. Russell homered in the 1st, and this is a pretty swing by Saunders, and he knew immediately that it was gone.
He doesn't give up many home runs, Brad Brock.
Brock, that's just the 5th home run he's allowed. A big home run for the Blue Jays. Gives them a 5-1 lead. Now time for Blue Jays Central Update. Here's Hazel May and Greg Zahn in the Samsung broadcast studio.
If you are a Blue Jays fan, the Sportsnet app is a must. It lets you stay up to date with the latest scores, breaking news, game highlights, and analysis of Canada's team. Plus, never miss a single pitch with our in-depth live game tracker. It is available on iOS and Android devices. Guys?
Thank you, Barrett. We move to the bottom of the 8th, and the Blue Jays in another run. This is Brett Cecil taking over after Benoit had a good inning. Cecil making his 41st appearance of the season.
Well, you bring him in because a couple of lefties scheduled. You get Chris Davis to lead off this inning. This is the first time that we have seen Brett in this series against the Orioles. Last time he pitched was against Minnesota. That was back on the 28th. A third of an inning. He had a hit, also had a strikeout. Melvin Upton into the ball game. He'll take over for Michael Saunders for defense in left field. But this forces Buck Showalter to possibly make a move here. You got Davis, and Davis is just 3 for 21 in his career versus Brett Cecil. Then the right-hander Trumbo, and then Alvarez. And if they pinch hit for Alvarez, you can get a right-hander up and maybe bring him in. So a lot of options for the Blue Jays here in the 8th inning.
Yeah, they make the first move and put the pressure on the Orioles. The Blue Jays have a 4-run lead at 5-1. So it'll be Davis, Trumbo, and Alvarez, and Brett Cecil has a couple of left-handers in the next 3. Davis 3 for 21 against Cecil for his career. Tonight he has walked 3 times, all against Aaron Sanchez. Goes after the first pitch, and it's a high fly ball to left. Upton at the track, at the wall, makes the catch.
The all-new 2017 Ridgeline, our newest vehicle and their newest fan. Honda, official vehicle of the Toronto Blue Jays.
The Inner Harbor here in Baltimore, just a few blocks away from this beautiful ballpark. Brett Cecil throws the first pitch strike to Mark Trumbo.
Double barrel action in the bullpen. There's Feldman in case they pinch hit for Alvarez, and just getting loose, Roberto Osuna.
Strike 2. Trumbull is 0 for 10 in this series. Blue Jays have done a nice job of shutting down the Orioles. Last night, Orioles scored 5 runs on 7 hits and hit 3 home runs. But in game 1, Orioles managed just 1 run on 4 hits. And again, similar situation tonight, 1 run on 5 hits.
Middle of the lineup. They've done a good job against Chris Davis and Mark Trumbo. Tough to shut them down altogether, this team. But they've done a good job against those 2.
Manny Machado hit his 100th career home run in last night's game, a 2-run home run in a 3-run 5th inning for the Orioles. Machado tonight 1 for 4. Had a single in the first. Once again, I think the Blue Jays reflecting the strength of their pitching staff in this series. They lead the American League in pitching. Their starters now, with Sanchez in line for the win, have a chance to pick up their 58th win of the season. The Blue Jays with a 1.5 lead over the Red Sox, who won earlier this afternoon. They beat Tampa Bay 8-6 at Fenway. Junichi Tozawa, the winner for Boston. Erasmo Ramirez took the loss. Kimbrel with his 24th save of the season. Another foul into the seats. A big blow today was the Hanley Ramirez grand slam home run. Ramirez home run number 19 off Drew Smiley.
That put him up 6-4. Forsythe tied it up 6-6, and That was off of Tazawa, but he got the out and he got the win after the Red Sox scored again. How about some of these at-bats tonight by the Orioles, making it tough on Blue Jay pitchers? They've only struck out twice all night.
Pedro Alvarez struck out twice against Aaron Sanchez, and that was it. Sanchez, his 2 strikeouts, the fewest strikeouts in a start this season for Aaron. Trumbo gets his first hit of the series. He had a heck of an at-bat, kind of hanging breaking ball, hit it into left field for a 1-out single.
And with that hit, Pedro Alvarez has been called back, and Steve Pearce has picked up a good at bat right there by Trumbo, fouling off some tough pitches, and then got that hanging breaking ball. Picked up his first hit of the series.
So Steve Pearce will hit for Alvarez, and Pearce homered in last night's game, and just as we predicted, John Gibbons has made the move to the bullpen.
Which one? He's got 2 righties. He signaled for the righty.
Looks like Scott Feldman is going to come into the game in this situation. He had Osuna up as well. But Cecil gets Davis, gives up a single to Trumbo, and now Scott Feldman, the former Oriole, will come in to work. Feldman comes into the ball game to face the pinch hitter Steve Pearce, who was batting for Pedro Alvarez.
He's done a little bit of everything in his career. He has started. He has been a long man out of the bullpen. He's also got 7 wins this year. His combined stats with the Houston Astros and the Toronto Blue Jays in 35 games are a very respectable 368 earned run average. He's a ground ball type of pitcher, and that's what the Blue Jays are looking for right here. He got the big ground ball the last time he was on the mound against Minnesota and got that double play and helped them win the ball game. The last time that he was in the ball game, that was on Sunday against the Twins.
Got Trevor Plouffe to hit into an inning-ending double play after Troy Tulowitzki came to the mound and suggested maybe an inside pitch.
Well, that inside pitch helped him to win that ball game. Got out of that inning. Blue Jays scored. That young fan's having a lot of fun tonight, taking selfies.
So here is Feldman. This is his 10th appearance since joining the Blue Jays, working to Steve Pearce, and Feldman gets ahead. Feldman pitched for the Orioles in 2013. He made 15 starts after he was acquired from the Chicago Cubs in a July deal. He spent just the second half of the 13 season with the Orioles before signing with the Houston Astros. Popped up back over the screen and out of play.
You mentioned that trade before. Jake Arrieta was part of that trade. Pedro Strop also went to the Chicago Cubs in that trade for Scott Feldman. So the Orioles gave up a lot to get Scott.
At the time, Jake Arrieta hadn't become Jake Arrieta. Breaking ball was popped into the seats out of play. They were waiting on Arrieta a long time here in Baltimore, and he looked like One of the years he was going to put it all together, but they finally gave up on him and traded him to the Cubs, and now he has certainly blossomed into one of the best pitchers in all of baseball.
He was their opening day starter that one year. Might have been the year they traded him. But they want a little bit more of a veteran in Feldman, who's been through the wars before. Now he's got to deal with Steven Pierce.
Feldman's ahead, 0-2, 1 out. Pierce hit the home run last night in the 5th inning. First of 2 home runs that the Orioles hit off Jay Happ. Two and two now. Feldman began his career with the Texas Rangers. He spent 8 seasons in Texas. Called strike 3. Pierce had a good look at it, thought it was low, but Alan Porter rings him up. Interesting, the only 3 strikeouts of the game have come in the 6th spot in the batting order for the Orioles.
And what a pitch by Feldman. He didn't get the call the previous pitch, and he goes right back to that sinker. And there's Russell one more time, framing it up to get the call. Pierce isn't happy with it. It's right at the knees. And Alan Porter punches him out. That's a big out.
Now Feldman will deal with Matt Wieters, the catcher. Wieters 1 for 3 tonight. Orioles have 6 hits. Blue Jays have 9. The Blue Jays have hit 3 home runs.
And the Orioles have hit all singles.
Chopper. Feldman comes off the mound. He put the tag on Wieters. That ends the inning. Nice job by Scott Feldman. Comes into the ball game and strikes out Pierce and gets Wieters on the ground down. They'll go to the 9th. The Blue Jays trying to win the series here in Baltimore.
Rogers Center. All 4 series are American League East opponents, starting with the Red Sox, September 9th through the 11th, followed by the Tampa Bay Rays. Then it's the New York Yankees coming in from the 23rd to the 26th, followed by the same Baltimore Orioles. Go to BlueJays.com for tickets. And unlike here at Camden Yards, where you see all these empty seats, folks, the tickets are selling out fast for the Blue Jays. So if you want to get in, you got to get your tickets now. Buck?
Absolutely. Great schedule in September, so make sure you check it out and get your tickets. Come on out to Rogers Center. We go to the 9th inning, and the Blue Jays trying to win the series for the first time this season here at Oriole Park at Camden Yards. They lost the previous 2 series, 2-1. Interesting, in those first 2 series, the Blue Jays won each of the first 2 games in those 3-game series and lost the next 2.
Trying to win it right here. They got a nice 5-run lead, a chance to add on here in the 9th inning.
Oliver Drake into the ball game, pitching to Tulowitzki, and Tulowitzki fouls it off.
Drake is an interesting story. He was a 43rd round draft pick in 2008 from Navy Academy. Worked his way up to the big leagues. Here he is. He was just recalled from the minor leagues. He's got a 2-seam sinker and a great split change, where he can get a lot of swings and misses. There it is.
Ball on the strike to Tulowitzki. Line drive to right. Trumbo is there. First out of the top half of the 9th. The Blue Jays will enjoy an off day tomorrow down in St. Petersburg. There is a tropical depression headed for the west coast of Florida, and Blue Jays are a little concerned about the weather. And everybody in Florida, of course, concerned. And it looks like the projections have it going north of Tampa Bay, making landfall possibly tomorrow evening.
Yeah, lots of rain in the Tampa Bay area all day today, so we'll see.
Yanner Navarro making his first start since rejoining the Blue Jays. He's had a good night as the DH, 2 for 3 with a run scored. He scored all the way from first on the Devin Travis double in the 7th. Navarro strikes out. Drake retires the first 2 here in the 9th.
He's got a funky little delivery. He comes right over the top. He's got just enough fastball to get you out upstairs, but you always got to be wary of that legit chase pitch, legit out pitch in that splitter. There's Roberto Osuna, who's warming up. Don't know if he's going to come in. It's a non-save situation for Osuna. The way Feldman finished off that last inning, might like him to finish off the game.
Mentioned Oliver Drake went to the Naval Academy, but he was draft eligible as he dropped out of the academy after his sophomore season, and you don't have that military commitment until you complete your junior year at the military academy, so he was eligible for the draft. Manny Machado at third. Across the diamond in time. Pilar is retired. Drake retires the side in order. We will go to the bottom of the 9th. The Blue Jays have a 5-1 lead over the Orioles. Scott Feldman with a good inning. in St. Petersburg for a 3-game series. It starts on Friday. All starts at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time. That's the pregame show. 3:30 Pacific, and we'll be following about 30 minutes after that. Francisco Liriano is scheduled to open up for the Blue Jays against Alex Cobb, coming back from Tommy John surgery. And everybody knows how difficult the Rays are playing at home. Marcus Stroman and Blake Snell scheduled for Saturday. And on Sunday, R.A. Dickey and Chris Archer. Those are the pitching matchup for the 3-game series against the Rays. Roberto Osuna coming into this non-save situation.
Blue Jays have an off day tomorrow, so you want to get your closer in there. Ezequiel Carrera takes over for Jose Bautista in right field. Justin Smoke over at first base, spelling Edwin Encarnacion.
Osuna misses with the first pitch. Osuna, like so many closers, has not pitched well when he comes into games in non-save situations. There just seems to be a little lack of adrenaline. There he throws a strike to J.J. Hardy. Osuna making his first appearance in his series. He has not pitched since Saturday, and he takes that one right off the glove. Hardy hustling to first, and he is out on a bang-bang play. And now the focus will switch to the pitcher, Roberto Osuna.
And here comes John Gibbons and George Poulos. He was hit. It looked like it was above the glove, maybe on the wrist or the forearm area. Trying to shake this one off.
Yeah, he's hurt. He got hit above the glove and tried to get his hand out of harm's way, and you can see when Poulos touched it, it was very tender, obviously.
Boy, that's one guy the Blue Jays cannot afford to lose. Working on that thumb. He's pulling that thumb back to see and gauge how much strength he has in that thumb. You can see he's shaking, saying it might be okay. That is a scary thought right there.
But sure is, obviously, anytime you're in a game, you have a chance of injury. This is a hot shot. He tried to put his glove down, and it hit above the glove. He immediately looks at his left hand, and it hit him above that glove, caught him on the meat part of that hand, and he's going to stay in the game.
One more time, the glove starts to come off, and baseball players don't fit that glove all the way over their hand. It's loose just a little bit, so the palm is exposed just a little bit, and you know, that's where that ball hit him, right in the base of the thumb.
Nolan Reimold, the center fielder, 0 for 3. The Orioles have announced the official trade of Michael Bourne. They have acquired Michael Bourne from Arizona for a minor league. Reimold hits it over Smoke into right. A 1-out single. Now for a preview of what's coming up on Sportsnet Central. Here's Ivanka Osmak and Eric Thomas. Thank you very much, Ivanka. That's all coming up right after this game. And Rougned Odor is hot. He had a walk-off home run in last night's game and hit 2 more today. This is Young-Soo Kim. Upstairs, the ball on the strike. Kim is 1 for 3. He walked in the 7th.
This time Roberto worked. That was a non-save situation also. That was Sunday against Minnesota. He ended up giving up a run in that game. Double on a single by Mauer. Needs some work right here. That was the last time he pitched in a ball game.
2-1 to Kim. He gets jammed and fights it on. Well, the one thing you don't want to do is get down to the meat of this order. Put a couple more guys on, and that four-run deficit can evaporate. Blue Jays get an extra run in the 8th. Wow, Kim strikes out a wicked off-speed pitch.
And he looked out at Osuna saying, I expected a fastball and you threw me a slider. And it really messed up his timing. Just the 3rd strikeout of the night by the Orioles. And watch how his timing is just so messed up. He's out on that front foot and he just waves at that pitch.
So the Blue Jays are not away from winning this series. Jonathan Scope hits it high and deep to left. If it's fair, it's gone, and it is fair. Jonathan Scope, a first ball fastball hitter, connects on the first pitch for his 21st home run of the season.
But he has had some good at-bats against the Blue Jays in this series. Buck Showalter elevates him into that number 2 spot in the batting order, and he has come through. That's his 3rd hit of the night, and he was robbed his last time up on a nice play by Josh Donaldson at 3rd base.
For Scope, this is his 4th home run against the Blue Jays this season.
Got all of that right down the left field line.
Let's see. Orioles' first home run of the game. The Blue Jays have hit 3. Save situations 144. Non-save situations 355. There's just that adrenaline missing in these non-save situations, and Machado has to bail out of that inside pitch.
He was cheating to the outside. He was looking for something away, and Roberto dusted him up and in. Move his feet. Watch how he dives into that pitch and the ball's up and in.
Two outs. Manny Machado with a 1-1 count. Now it's 2-1. Chris Davis, representing the tying run, is on deck. Osuna would just as soon leave him standing right there. Machado is 1 for 4.
Nice slider right off the corner. Machado hit his 100th home run in his career. The youngest Oriole player to get to 100 runs, or 100 home runs.
2-2. Reaches for the outside pitch, fouls it off.
Tried the quick pitch in just a little bit. There's only been 4 players that hit 100 home runs in Oriole history before their 25th birthday. Manny's one of them. Eddie Murray, Boot Powell, and of course Cal Ripken. So he is a threat to leave the yard at any time.
He was out in front with that changeup, had his timing all messed up.
Tell you what that home run did. It got the crowd back into the ball game. Got to make a pitch here.
Fly ball to right. Carrera comes back and makes the catch, and that's the ball game. Osuna closes out the 9th inning, and the Blue Jays win it 5-3 to take the series 2-1 here in Baltimore.
Well, get used to it in September. The Blue Jays are going to be playing a lot of American League East teams. These are the kind of games you're going to have to deal with. Tight ball games. You got to come up big, and the Blue Jays did, winning this series, holding down the Orioles and winning this one 5-3. Now it's on to Tampa.
For the Blue Jays, their 76th win. They have a 2-game lead over Boston. Baltimore falls to 4 back in the East. Thanks for watching. We'll see you from Tampa Bay on Friday night. Now, here's Sportsnet Central with Ivanka and Eric.